Bolivia's caretaker president, Jeanine Anez, says she's had enough. She's kicking out not just the Mexican ambassador, but also 2 Spanish diplomats. She accuses them of meddling in her country's affairs.
What we cannot tolerate is the abuse and arrogance of rulers who are clearly trying to cover up and protect criminals that have committed crimes of sedition, armed uprisings, and terrorism.
Her anger's directed at 9 Bolivians, including allies of ousted President Evo Morales, who've been given asylum inside the Mexican embassy. Her government wants them out and under arrest. Anti-Morales protesters are keeping vigil outside, alongside police, to ensure they don't escape. When Spanish diplomats turned up for a meeting with their Mexican counterparts, some thought it might be cover for a getaway. The Spanish security team waiting outside the embassy were harassed and scared off, and their diplomats left stranded. Eventually, they got back to base, but the Bolivian government remained deeply suspicious.
This group of Mexican and Spanish government representatives has seriously affected the sovereignty and dignity of the people and the constitutional government of Bolivia.
Spain denied trying to interfere and announced it was expelling 3 Bolivian diplomats in response. Mexico opted not to go tit-for-tat, perhaps unwilling to further inflame tensions that began when it granted asylum to Evo Morales in November.
We haven't got the intention to break diplomatic relations with Bolivia, and our embassy will continue its work in Bolivia.
Of course, there are wider questions beyond this situation. Chief among them is whether this caretaker government has the right to make these big foreign policy decisions. It's not just in this case, it's also broken with former allies and got closer to former adversaries, despite the fact that it's unelected and only meant to bridge the gap until a fresh vote. Perhaps the biggest question is when those elections will be held, so Bolivians can choose a permanent government. That too has yet to be resolved. John Holman, Jazeera, Mexico City.